whole host of stuff around being able to chart whether people are overtraining or not. So perhaps that area has moved on. But in terms of working hard and doing grunt work and just putting yourself through pain barriers, that goes back to caveman days. And in terms of effort, do I think the guys are training any harder than we did then? No. I think that we genetically had a really good group of guys then. The drive and the energy to really push yourself beyond each limits on a daily basis to get yourself in that sort of condition, that's a peer group thing. You have the best coach in the world, but unless you've got the right group of guys that want to take themselves to that place and where it hurts, then you can't establish that. But we had an amazing peer group, healthy level of competition, but also within that some mutual respect for each other, and therefore it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal. But the guys will be facing much the same now, but that's just the foundation, because unless you're at those levels, you're going to get blown away. So it's not a case of you can't even compete at the top level now so that's the minimum requirement. Thereafter, you're into the softer skills around how do you want to play the game, the whole mental fortitude and making the right decisions at the right time, the rugby aspects, rather than some of the purely physiological stuff. I just remember, a lot of coaches had to sort of almost pull certain guys back from training. People want to drive and drive and drive and drive. Examples, I remember doing sort of, at the end of the week, we try and do like a little Olympics, and we compete in teams against each other. And it became very, very competitive, as you well imagine, with that sort of group of people. That's the environment you need, and that's the sort of level of competition you need, because test match sport is a pretty unforgiving environment, and if you haven't got that as your baseline, then you can't even compete. There's an old phrase, train like Tarzan, play like Jane. There's a lot of great trainers out there, but it matters not unless you can deliver when it matters, and that's actually on the field. I remember on one stage going through a defensive set against South Africa, and we'd been, I think it was like 14 phases. I remember being there going, there's not anyone either side of me who I know hasn't been through some pain and I can't rely on, and that bond and trust is what makes or breaks rugby teams. That sort of level of trust is built up through going through those experiences together, and I just knew that we were going to win. I just knew we were going to win because we had that bond. And when you don't have any weak links in the chain, then and more than anything else, anyone's insecurities probably channeled at themselves. Going, if anything, I'm the weak link. And if you look through those names and everyone's thinking I'm the weak link here, that gives you an idea of the sense of respect everyone else had for each other. And you just you'd cut your arms off rather than let your teammates down, and that's what made those group of guys special. I think we believed that from when we went down and beat Australia and New Zealand in Wellington. And in many ways, it was such a marker. It was like putting a totem pole in the ground and saying, look, this is a little bit of England over here, and we're coming back here again in a couple of months' time. And rugby's a game of skills, it's a game of tactics, but most of all, it's a game of emotions. And at its most basic, it's a couple of rutting stags figuring out who's the alpha boss, and we had some good people to do that with. So we did that in the early part of '03. Nonetheless, it gives you an indication we were the best team in the world. We were clearly the best team in the world going into that tournament, and yet we still had to really dig deep, and you had to go extra time, play 100 minutes in the final, etc., to still win it. So it gives you an idea how tough winning World Cups are, especially away from home. But to give you an idea in the tournament, I think that the really testing moment was when things weren't going to plan. I remember we were playing the quarter-final against Wales. Bearing in mind we played a warm-up game against Wales and put 50 points on them with our second team, and playing the quarter-final, and we were going out. We were going out, and we were thinking. And I picked up a calf injury, so I couldn't play that game. And in many ways, that was the one moment where Tins and Will were on the field, and I remember Clive substituted Catty on, and his classic example where a guy who wasn't the first choice, but was a guy who stepped up, who led the team and said, right, give the ball to me, I'll make tactically the right decisions. And in many ways, that was, I suppose, the thought of the number one team in the world, who's the favourites for the tournament, to go out in the quarterfinals against a team who a couple of months ago you put 50 points on, was just, you'd come home with your tails between your legs. And it'd been built up for so many years, and at those moments you need people to step up, and Catty stepped up at the moment, and he'll always have my respect as a result of doing that. I mean, you can make an easy joke there, because actually everyone remembers the drop goal with his right foot, but he'd actually missed 4 with his left. So in many ways that game should never have gone on as long as it did. We had disallowed, Ben dropped the ball over the line, we gave away penalties at the scrum, which the guys are still moaning about now. They said they weren't penalties. I mean, but it was sport is theatre, and it was just a great, amazing occasion. And I just remember the emotion of the day. I remember coming out there, and it was the English fans had brought up the stadium, and it was just the most amazing day. And I think the most important thing, which I remember, was whether it's a game of marbles in the car park or whether it's Test match rugby, Australia will be competitive against England, right? They bring out their A game, and they don't give you any respect until you've actually earned it. And the press have been hounding you, telling we play the most boring rugby, we play the most creative rugby in the tournament. But they've been hounding us and just using any weapon they can to get in under your skin. And that's what playing sport at the top level is about, is handling that pressure and delivering it when it matters. And I remember the following day in the Sydney Morning Herald, there's the article going, guys, fair play, you did it. And for the Australia crowd to stand up and give us a standing ovation after we won, they know we'd earned it.